welcome back to the channel. Okay, what we're going to do, I'll plug my microphone in for a start. Might hear the birds singing, might hear a bit of traffic and some roadworks down the road, so it can be quite busy, but it's too nice to be indoors. I want to be outside today. It's lovely. Anyway, what's today's video all about? Well, yeah, here you go, here's the roadworks. I quite often get asked, how do you do this, how do you do that with Bitcoin, how does this work, how does that work? And you've all heard me say you need to educate yourself, make up your own minds. I can't advise anyone on what to do or not what to do. But I thought what I would try and do is make a video in a very easy way to explain the way I look at Bitcoin and what it is, and how it works. So it's going to be very, very basic enough for me to understand it, basic enough for hopefully a 10-year-old will understand it, although I think lots of young people will probably understand it a hell of a lot more than I will ever understand it. But yeah, I thought I'd just put a video together and just say, like, this is what I think or see Bitcoin is. It will be, again, very basic. It's not advice, it's just my interpretation of how I see it working, and hopefully that can be of some use to anybody that has any very basic questions to think about when looking at Bitcoin, trying to understand what Bitcoin is. The whole educational process around Bitcoin is massive. It's a massive rabbit hole. It's a massive educational curve. It's very technical. Parts of it are well above my pay grade. I don't understand, but I understand enough for me to look at it as a possible investment process. So here we go. So, simplistic terms, what is Bitcoin? Well, I see it, and probably a lot of people see it, although it's not my total definition of what it is, because it's very crude. It's technology. It's a piece of technology, nothing more, nothing less, and it's written code. Now, I'm not going to go into the in-depth of what the code is, because I have no idea. I'm not that way inclined. I am educating myself slowly over time, but only to the fact of what I need to know personally. But there's lots of information out there that you can look all this up on. And this code technology is running on something called blockchain, which is probably, most people would have heard of blockchain technology. Some people consider it as money, and some people look at it as a store of value, and I'm sure some people look at it as a load of rubbish. But that's not what I'm doing this video for. That's up to anyone to look at and do the research themselves if they want to. Created over 15 years ago now. Probably heard of Satoshi Nakamoto. Hopefully I've pronounced that name properly. Him, her, group, whoever, not overly interested, although it's an interesting story. Obviously they called, back in the day, referred to as cyberpunks, maybe, I think I've got that right. You know, we're looking for solutions in a digital way of creating a better form of money than what we've all been used to in a fiat sort of way. Anyway, 15 years ago they come up with Bitcoin, and 15 years later we still have Bitcoin. In the protocol of the code, there can be no more than 21 million Bitcoin produced over a period of time. That's an important one to think about. There isn't anything that I've seen or heard or been educated on that can be changed. It's inbuilt in a code, and that's what makes it the most scarcest asset that we will probably see in our lifetimes, albeit who knows what's around the corner. But at the moment, to date, that does make it probably one of the scarcest assets out there in that format, and of course it's digital. And each Bitcoin can be broken down into Satoshis, and you might have heard that Satoshi is called Sats, which is obviously short for Satoshi, and there's 100 million Satoshis to one Bitcoin, so it can be really broken down into very small amounts. And a similar way to look at that is, how our fiat currency is broken down into pounds, cents, euros, dollars. They can all be broken down to make that divisible money easier to use in an economy. So there's 100 million Satoshis. So this is why you can buy a piece of a Bitcoin. I kind of feel a little bit sort of, everyone refers to, got to have a Bitcoin, but you don't have to have a Bitcoin. You can have a piece of a Bitcoin, and a very small piece of it, like I gave in my giveaway a little while ago. Well, that's that bit. The network is very secure, I believe, from the evidence and the information that I have researched into. I don't believe it's ever been hacked, broken into. Yes, there's some weird people doing weird and wonderful things outside of the code, but as a rule, the network itself is a very secure network indeed, which is super cool. And the whole protocol system of Bitcoin works on a proof of work network, and this is done by something called mining. The concept of proof of work is pretty simple in my head. Logically, I just look at it and say, okay, you need to do something to be rewarded for it, rather than not do anything to be rewarded for it. So Bitcoin's got this proof of work network that basically miners do that proof of work. This is very crude, and I'm sure there's lots of technical explanations far beyond what I understand, but I just want to keep this really crude. So your miners do your proof of work. Now, there's many different mining companies around the world. Well-known ones are like Marathon. Probably heard of, if you've looked at Bitcoin mining, big companies called Marathon, Riot. Clean Spark is another up-and-coming one. There's lots and lots around, but they're like Marathon and Riot are quite big in the game. So they're out there doing this proof of work. Now, basically they're running massive banks of these ASIC machines, and they're small machines that are trying to crack a series of equations built into this code, and also at the same time validating transactions that are occurring on the Bitcoin network. Now, whoever cracks the code in this series of very clever set of coding equations, then they are rewarded with some Bitcoin. So there's your proof of work. They are doing something, they're using energy. Lots of it is, you've all heard, maybe if you've been researching, there's been a lot of articles about Bitcoin uses more energy than certain countries, and it's going to boil the seas and oceans of the world. Well, that's all a load of rubbish if you do your research, but I'm not going to go there down that angle in this video, that's for sure. But yeah, a lot of them are using renewable energy, wind, solar, gas flaring. There's some very clever engineering to be able to convert all that wasted energy into running, basically converting it into electricity to then run these machines to try and crack this code and then get rewarded for it. That's very, very crude, extremely crude way of putting it, but that's quite an understanding of how the mining systems work. Then over time, these rewards in the protocol of Bitcoin, of the Bitcoin system, they're halved approximately every 4 years now, that's until the very last Satoshi has been mined. And we're probably looking, if you do the maths, and it's quite easy to Google this or do a bit of research, I think it's about 2148 will be roughly 2140s will be roughly when the very last Satoshi will ever be mined, and then that's it, no more. So that's the ethic behind proof of work. Currently, only 450 bitcoins can be mined each day, according to the coding, and that will take place until the next halving event, which is where it'll be halved yet again in 2028, and then every 4 years, it gets halved and halved and halved and halved. So in a way, what I like about that side of what it stands for is it's the complete reverse of maybe what fiat currency. Now, you can, if you add, by printing more money into a system, then in a way you're devaluing and making it very highly inflationable, which is what we're all used to. But what I like about Bitcoin, because it's halved, it sort of brings that inflation rate down. It happens in the reverse. So that's another good thing that I'd like to see. That's very crude. There may be people that are a lot more technically minded and probably shouting at this screen, oh, it's not how it works. But to me, that's roughly how it works, and you really need to do more research and lots and lots of hours of understanding on how the system works. But that's roughly how I see it working. So that's a good thing. So what do these miners do with their Bitcoin? Well, they don't have to do anything with it, but they can sell them. They can sell all of them. They can keep them all, or sell half, sell a bit. So that's obviously really cool. So that's how they come to market. And they will sell them at the current price, or whatever their negotiations are with certain exchanges around the world. So that's how we end up with how we can buy them if we want to. We need to go to an exchange. Now, there's many different exchanges out there, but the most common ones that we've heard about, probably in a good way and a bad way, we've all heard of the diabolical things that happen with FTX, etc., etc. But then probably a lot of people have heard about Binance, it's an exchange for cryptocurrency. I'm only talking about Bitcoin here, nothing else. Coinbase, big American company. Crypto.com, see Crypto.com advertised all over. Formula One, Gemini is another big one. There's lots of smaller ones around, but they're the well-known ones. So these Bitcoins end up on exchanges through people that have mined them and sold them. And as well, there's new Bitcoin being mined every day as we go. week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out, year in, year out, year in, year out. So I'm muffling a bit, I'm waffling a little bit, so I'll get back to the point. So how do we get hold of our Bitcoin if we're interested in dipping our little toes in the pond? Whether it's a whole Bitcoin, depends how much money you've got and what you want to spend on it, or a fraction of a Bitcoin. Because as we know, there's big fractions of Bitcoins. So we need an exchange. We need somewhere to exchange our fiat to buy something. So I've mentioned the exchanges. I'm only going to use exchanges now because, you know, obviously you can pass from peer to peer. You can sell people, you know, whatever you want to do. But obviously there's lots of legal things around that. So I'm just going to use the ways I do it when I have to. So I use an exchange now. We use Coinbase for an example. You have to KYC, know your customer, by registering your all your details like you would do with anything nowadays. And once you register and you pass all of whatever you need to do, then that allows you to be able to buy Bitcoin in this situation. And you can purchase Bitcoin, many other cryptocurrencies, but I'm not into any of those. Just talking about Bitcoin. You purchase Bitcoin, and when you purchase it, obviously we use from like, you buy £100 worth, £10 worth, whatever. It denominates, tells you exactly how much you get in at that exchange right at that time, just like taking your money. If you're going on holiday to another country to exchange it, it'll give you a rate, you say yes or no, and then bang. There's some fees involved, not very high, but there are fees that you need to be aware of. And then you purchase it, and then it registers that amount of Bitcoin with a value next to it in pounds, because I'm in the UK, and then that sits on your, what I call a exchange wallet address. That's all mine, registered to me. Now, you don't have to, once you've bought it, you can leave it there. You don't have to. I'm not a great believer in letting anybody look after anything of value for me. I love my self-sovereignty. So there's alternatives for this, and the Bitcoin network allows you to be able to move your Bitcoin from one address to another. Now I'm going to use an example. You can actually have not an exchange wallet. Well, you can have an exchange wallet, but you can also have a thing called a hot wallet, and a hot wallet is just basically, in crude terms, the only one I've ever used is one called Moon. I think it's MUUN. Whenever I've played around with Bitcoin and sent very small amounts to my kids or whatever, or been purchasing something and I'm out and about and I can use Bitcoin to do it, I use my Moon wallet, which is called a soft wallet, which is connected to my smartphone. It's just an app on my smartphone, and it allows me to move my Bitcoin, if I want to, away from, we use Coinbase as the example, to my Moon wallet. And on my Moon wallet, it's very, very simple. It says, do you want to receive or send? I press receive. It gives me a wallet address, and my wallet address on my Moon wallet, it will create a Bitcoin address, and that Bitcoin address is made up with quite a few, I can't remember exactly how many, numbers and letters. And those numbers and letters are unique to my Bitcoin hot wallet address. I send that, I use that in my when I go to my exchange on Coinbase. I put in where I want to send it to, use that address. You need to be very careful when you're doing this the first time. A lot of these apps let you copy, use QR codes. Just make sure when you're copy and pasting, that whatever you copy and pasting is exactly what you have copied and pasted, because once you do this transaction, that's it, end of. So that sounds terrible, and you think, oh god, I don't want to, but I used to play around with very small amounts until I got used to the software. And now at my stupid age of 60 years of age, I don't think twice about what I'm doing now. I follow quite a strict, very quick, easy way of recognizing numbers and letters, and yeah, I haven't had any problems whatsoever. I found it very easy. Like anything, when you use things right at the beginning, it can be a little bit confusing, but you just take your time. You don't play with your money, you always take your time. And if you treat it like you're doing a bank transfer, where you double check the account number that you're sending it to and the sort code you see, you just do the same with this, and that's it. You can transfer, send, receive from an exchange to a hot wallet. But there's also a thing called a cold wallet, and I love the cold wallet setup. And with the cold wallet, it's similar to a hot wallet. So again, it's software that you can use on your phone, or on your PC, or a laptop, anything like that, computer. The difference is you have a key, and without that key, nobody or no one can access your Bitcoin. You just can't. And that's the whole point of why it's called a cold wallet, because it's outside of the internet. The access is outside the internet, and that key comes in the form of what would you call it, like a memory stick type thing. And on that memory stick, you set it up when you get when you buy it, with some unique seed phrases and passwords, and it's up to you to look after those. And that's the only way you can access your Bitcoin, crypto, but we're talking about Bitcoin, on the system. And that works in the same way once you're keyed in. On a cold wallet system, you go into your software, it asks you what you want to do. It's almost like having your own bank account. You can set up all sorts of accounts. You can have more than one cold wallet. You can have as many hot wallets, cold wallets, exchanges, as much as what you're allowed to have. But the cold wallet is great. You may have heard, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, and that stems from that if you're using a third party to look after your money, Bitcoin in this circumstance, on an exchange, you're relying on the exchange to be honest. We all know what happened with FTX. You're relying on your phone not to be stolen if you've got a hot wallet. So there's always that third party trust. Now, I do trust third party, but I only trust them with what I want them to trust them with, if that makes sense. Anything that I can see that I can have self-sovereignty over, or self-bank, then I'm a very big advocate of doing so. And I've educated myself over the last 2.5 years to do that, and I see that as quite an important thing, especially in this day and age. But again, that's what I like about the system. You know, you've got all sorts of ways of using it. If again, going from a soft wallet to a cold wallet, an exchange to a cold wallet to a soft wallet, cold wallet to an exchange, it's very, very simple. It may seem quite complicated initially, but it's a case of, like anything in life, is if you take your time, especially when you're dealing with value, money, value, anything like that, then you need to just take your time and learn it. And then once you become familiar with it, it's like anything. Me, I keep saying this, I'm an old man, well, oldish man, not the most tech savvy in the world, but pretty tech savvy, and if I can get my head around it, most people can. So that's basically the way it works. And if you watch my video about the United Crypto States video that I did, I think during the week, that actually had Bitcoin in it. Now the way that works is behind the holographic image there'll be a QR code, and within that QR code, now hopefully you'll understand, there's a Bitcoin. If it is Bitcoin, one of them was Ethereum, but there's a Bitcoin address, and that address is what I was talking about. It's made up of numbers and letters, and I can simply just use that address to take that Bitcoin off of that coin if I wanted to. It's going to devalue the coin, so I'm never going to do that. But that's how easy it is, and you just send that to your hot wallet, cold wallet, exchange wallet, wherever your wallet is, you know. And it is that simple. There's nothing, there isn't, it always sounds like a lot of rocket science, but when you break it down into simple logic, it's a wonderful, wonderful, simple way of transferring and using your wealth or money, however you want to see it, in a peer-to-peer way. And I think that's why I kind of look at Bitcoin and just think, this has got a thing with the future. This has got, you know, there's a lot of people will start saying, oh yeah, but this, but that. We'll forget about all the buts, because the buts can happen to anything. But for me personally, I just look at it and think, okay, yeah, it makes sense, there's some logic there, let me learn about it, and then let me experiment and see how it works. And that's given me enough confidence to be able to take my knowledge further and investigate it. Now there's so much outside of that, it's ridiculous, but that's the core basics of how I see Bitcoin, how it works. There is a ton more to it, and I'm sure the network over time will change and develop just like any technology, but the underlying asset will never change. You know, there'll only be 21 million, and you know, if that becomes fair value, if it does become the new digital gold, who knows, you know. I've sort of got my heads up and learnt about it a little bit more, so hopefully that helped, hopefully that works out for you, gives you a bit of an understanding of a very, very basic very basic what Bitcoin is. And yeah, good luck with that. The rest of it, you need to do your own research. So yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be a thing, I'm not saying it's not going to be a thing, but understanding it and understanding the simplicity of it and what it means gives you a better idea of whether you want to pursue your educational route down there, if you see any value in that. And that goes with everything, absolutely everything. So anyway, that's it. I ain't going to ramble on any more about that. Hopefully that made sense. Leave me a comment, let me know if that's helped or not. That'd be useful. There's plenty of people out there that are far more technical than I am, that can explain it far more better than I can ever explain it, probably. But from a simplistic way, hopefully that helps. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the day. Take care. Bye.